Planning tool consists of a initial screen which has a planning layout, a strategy profile, a selection criteria where you can enter work center hierarchy or a work center, plant, and a planning version. It also has a start date and start time. Now, it always defaults to the current date and time. And that's because one of the objective of a planning tool is to plan with the current date into future. Planning tool doesn't consider backlogs. Let's go to the details of a planning tool. Now, as per our selection screen, we had a work center hierarchy, which is showing the aggregate capacity. And these are the individual work centers with their individual capacities and etc. Now, this planning dashboard consists of again 3 different sections. The first one is a work center, which is showing how many orders are on that work center and how many of those are already dispatched and how many of those are not dispatched. Then in the central, you are seeing a time frame with the available capacity, the dispatch quantity, which is coming from a production order, and then the total requirements, which is also coming from a production order in this case. Then the last section consists of a production order information. Now in this section, we have a production order number, material master description, a target quantity, earliest start date and end date with the earliest start and end time as well, and then the capacity requirement for individual production order. Now this layout can be customized as per your own need. For example, if you have a equipment or a tool which you are using when you are working in a production, that can be displayed here, and that tool can be also managed through the function from a menu bar for the equipment management. In addition, this layout can also be applied when you have a sales order, customer information, a requested delivery date, all these type of fields, and then that layout will be helping you to determine your planning and the production schedule. Also, this layout has another feature called sequencing. If you remember, one of the slide in the presentation has an example of sequencing. If you have a special criteria such as a color or a surface area, and you want to sequence your orders to optimize your production, this is the ideal function which you can utilize, and you can sequence orders for that particular work center on that day and so on. Now the status column displays how many orders are already dispatched and how many orders are open. So this is what about the dashboard of a planning tool. There are some push buttons which you can see. These are nothing but functions within the planning tool which can be used to optimize your planning and production schedule. In addition to this, there are also some functions available in menu bar. Now we can take a look at the individual functions briefly. So let's take an example of this particular order which is not yet dispatched. What I can do is I'm selecting this order and I'm selecting tomorrow's date, which is 19th of January, and I want to dispatch this order for 19th of January. So yeah, it is dispatched on 19th of January and I can see it here as well. Since I had a capacity available, it was easy to allocate that in that particular time frame. Now, if you don't want to allocate that, you can always deallocate it from that particular time frame. And that way, then it will be again an open order which is available for your planning. This is about dispatch and deallocate. Now, let's take a look at the shift operation. Shift operation means if you have an order which you don't want to process on a current work center where it is allocated, you can switch that to a different work center. For example, if there is a capacity issue or if there is a maintenance issue and you want to make the production but you cannot with the current selection, you can always make a selection of that particular order and then select the work center where you would like to shift that order and just click on the function of a shift operation. What will happen is this particular order will get shifted to work center core 2. Remember the number 4580, and I'm making a selection as a yes. So let's go to the work center core 2, and there it is. The 4580 is now in the work center core 2. The only thing is it is in the status open. So you just have to allocate it based on when you want to plan that. Now similarly, shifting, there is also another function called closing the gaps. Now if you see, I have orders which are planned on 28th of January, 31st of January, and so on. But in between, I don't have any order planned. That means I have a capacity available. So this gap can be closed by bringing this order forward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the close gap function for this particular time frame. I'm selecting only one order, which is on the 28th of January. And then I'm selecting a function close gap. Now for this, I have to maintain a time frame again here. So my end date is 28th. What will happen is this order will get moved on the 18th of Jan, right? Because I have a capacity available here. So let's move it. And yes, it is moved to the 18th of Jan. And this way you can use the closing the gaps functionality wherever you have capacity available. Similar to these functions, there is also an option to create hyperlinks between your planning tool and standard SAP transactions. You can toggle between the production order change transaction. You can go to the stock requirement list of that material master. You can also go to the capacity of your work center. And if you have a sales order, you can also go to the sales order and so on. Now let's take a look at another function, which is order list. So order list shows what are the orders for that particular week. Let's say I'm working on this week and my week ends on 21st of January. I can pull or extract all the orders for that work center within that particular week. This is nothing but a similar layout like a production order information system or quiz report from standard SAP transaction. Now there are two more functions which I would like to show you before we close this demo, out of which one is heuristics. Let's say, for example, I have an open order which I want to plan on 19th of January, but I want to check it before if I have enough material available or capacity available. So I'm selecting this order and the time frame, I'm selecting a function of a heuristics. What will happen when I run the heuristic for material or tools availability? If it is available, it's going to get dispatched in that particular time frame. For example, in this case, I have selected 19th of January and I'm executing material availability. So since material is available, it is getting dispatched in that particular time frame. This is one of the function you can customize with the help of a body or the user exits. Now, last but not least, the function of a backlog. The system shows the backlog orders if you have in your planning tool, which you can bring it forward to the current date and schedule it. Now, I'm just taking an example of a past date from 11th of January till 17th, and let's execute. I have one, two, three, four different orders which has a possibility to schedule it into the current date. Now, these scheduling options you can customize based on your need and based on your company's requirements, and that you can always customize in the planning tool customization. So that was about the backlog functions. That is all about the planning tool. Now let's get back to the Mac for a presentation.